Welcome to the Car Guys, and this week, the long-awaited garage update. It's 2024. The last garage update was at the end of 2022. Some things have been happening, some very exciting things have been happening, and now it's time to reveal all. So if that sounds like your kind of complete guide to all the cars in this Car Guys Garage vodka, let's get on with it. Now, first up, I know it's been a long time since the last garage update. A garage update is probably the most requested thing we get in the comments on YouTube and Instagram because you're all fascinated to know what's in, what's out, what's happened to the collection. And I apologize that it's taken so long, but I guess maybe I just didn't have that much to say. You see, the problem with the Car Guys is that we love cars and we don't tend to get rid of them that much. So therefore, garage updates year to year or every 6 months, it's not quite as exciting as other YouTubers, predominantly those in America, because the collection stays, how can I put it, the same. But this time, there are some changes, there are some updates, and this episode, I'm going to take you through all of them. Through the main garage, we'll do Jason's at a later date because frankly, who can keep up with that? But certainly the ones here at the main Car Guys HQ, that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm sure you'll be delighted to see some friendly faces still here. And you'll probably, based on other videos that I've made, understand why other cars are not here. There's also going to be not one, but two surprise new entrants into the garage, one of which you've almost certainly guessed or spied in the corner of other videos that I've made. And yeah, it's a biggie. Now, if you've seen my other garage update videos, you'll know they are often a tale of two halves. It's about new cars in and out, but it's also about the mundanery. It's about the fact of what it takes to keep a fleet of cars like this going. Much of it is extremely boring paperwork, it's servicing, it's MOT certificates in the UK, it's road tax updating, it's insurance, it's all the things that you need to keep cars going. And frankly, and honestly, it is getting a bit tiresome. Having a car collection of this number does get quite a burden, and there are many times where I sit and think, is it all worth it? Should I just dump the lot and focus on one or two cars? Should I just dump the lot and sod off to sunnier climes? Those feelings and that draw, I can't help but admit, is getting stronger. But when you come into the garage and you walk around and you see the gleaming metal, the automotive sculpture, the sheer beauty of it, it does make you think twice. Now, I've got another video coming up soon about my thoughts on new cars and which new cars I would purchase, but I have to say there's not been that much activity in terms of new cars since the GR Yaris. I think that was probably the last new car that I bought, apart from the one that will be revealed later on in this episode. And if I'm being honest, am I that passionate about new cars? Not really. But that's for a future video, and it's a good one, I promise. Today though, it's an update car by car. I'm going to tell you what the current mileage is. I'm going to give you an update on what's been happening with it since we last spoke about them. And I'm going to give you also my prospect as to how likely that car is to stay in the garage. And the first car to tell you about is this, the Honda NSX, an original 1991 car in silver with a black roof. It's a manual, of course. And if you remember on my last update, the clutch had gone. So the clutch pedal was dropping to the floor. It had a rear puncture as well, so it had a soft tyre, and it really needed a proper service by a proper NSX specialist. Well, I'm happy to report that this car was fully serviced. Took quite a bit of time, but it was fully serviced. It's now got a new and adjusted clutch. It's got a new tyre, so this car is now running perfectly. Now, recently, I sort of left it and forgot the trickle charger, so the battery went flat. So I did actually have to get Halfords to come out and put a new battery in for me, charge it all up. But now this car is running perfectly, and the only thing left to do is to get an MOT and to get it taxed, and then I can drive it out on the roads again, which I'm very much looking forward to do because I absolutely love this car. It is such a refined beautiful drive. The power is very progressive. It's a lovely sound from that V6. And this car so far has done just 63,000 miles. It is one of my favorites in the collection. I've also had a full paint correction detail, got rid of any scratches that it had. So the paintwork is now absolutely perfect. And the NSX is going to be coming out and it'll be in a video, hopefully very soon, but given the weather conditions, maybe a bit later. But this is a car that I really want to do a good road trip in. I'd love to put some miles on it. And now this is in the best condition that it has ever been in since I've owned it. So that's a good start to the update. The Ferrari 458 Speciale Aperta, one of your favourites in the garage and one of my favourites as well, because of course I picked this car up new in 2015 from the factory. It was spec'd to exactly my specifications, which is pretty much the launch spec. And obviously, because it's a Ferrari Speciale, it's one of the greatest cars in the world. Now this car's just come back from service from Meridian Modena, so it's finely fettled and ready to go racing once again. It's done just under 10,000 miles, 9,832 to be precise. So for a Speciale Aperta, that's probably quite toppy actually. I'm sure a lot of these cars are in hermetically sealed bubbles in private collections all around the world, never driven, just sat there silently appreciating. This one, of course, has appreciated quite significantly, but most importantly, it's also been driven and enjoyed. And I would say this is probably, out of all the cars in my collection, my absolute favorite. Just look at it. And here's another Ferrari, only this time, the first Ferrari that I ever bought. This is a 355 Spider. It's done just over 30,000 miles. Almost all of those down to me. It's been on road trips, it's been all around the world. This car is just stunning, which is curious, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, why I haven't driven it for about 2 years. Currently, this car needs a full service. It still needs to have its suspension looked at, but it does still run perfectly, and the rest of it is absolutely pristine thanks to a combination of work by Emblem Sports Cars and First Choice Detailing. You could eat your dinner off the engine bay of this 355. It is, of course, a manual with cream leather, and because it's the Spider, you can take that roof down, although that creaky old 90s roof really does make me nervous whenever I activate it, because you're never quite sure if it's going to go all the way down or all the way back up again. The 355 Spider for me, when I was just learning to drive, was the ultimate Ferrari, and this was the Ferrari I wanted first of all, and the one that I still look at and just think, you know what, Ferrari, you got it right. Now I know I need to get this car out and I need to drive it, and I really do. There can't be any more excuses. Just because it's parked in the corner and it's a bit more difficult to get out, I've really got to get this car up, ready for the driving and get it out on the road. So that is something that I'm absolutely going to do in the next 6 months, Scout's honour. And another firm favourite of yours in the Car Guys garage, and who could blame you, is the Ferrari 488 Pista Spider. Now, you all know I got an allocation for one of these. You then watch me spec it. You then watch me pick it up. This, I've been on a real journey, and it's a very special car to me because I spent so long personalising the spec. Not only the grey, the gold and the black paintwork, the brown interior, which you all absolutely adore, and so do I. Nothing worse than just having black again, oh for goodness sake. The little plaque from Enzo Ferrari, the gold wheels, just everything about this car to me screams gentleman spec, refined 60s elegance. And of course, because this is such a usable Ferrari, such an incredible machine, especially with the roof down so you can appreciate the roar from that turbocharged engine, I've done 13,658 miles so far in this car. And there can't be many Pista Spiders that have done that, because like the 458 Speciale Aperta, these cars are quite collectible. They have increased in value, and I'm sure a lot of people tuck them away and are just waiting for them to appreciate and then sell them. But this car, I am happy to say, in the spirit of the Car Guys, not only do I adore it, I also drive it, spend a lot of time. There's been many road trips, many events I've taken this car to, and I've also just driven it around day to day because I absolutely love it. And obviously, because I do like driving this car so much, it's fully serviced, it's taxed, it's MOT'd, it's ready to drive on the road right this minute. And it's sat here at the moment in pride of place. I just whip it straight out through the centre garage doors. Yes, of course, the white Ferrari, a 458 Italia, the base model, if you will, and white because I just love the look of it in white. When I saw this car at the dealership in this spec, I lusted after it for months, but I didn't buy it. Then Ferrari announced that they were stopping the 458 line entirely, and I pounced. I had to have this car. And really, it was buying this car new that, together with the other Ferraris that I owned, gave me the qualification to get the Speciale Aperta. So not only do I love this car for itself, but I'm indebted to it for giving me one of the greatest Ferraris of all time. And you can tell that I love this Ferrari because, once again, I've really driven it. I've done 17,500 miles. It is one of the sweetest, best driving Ferraris of any that I've owned, including the special stuff. And apart from some corrosion issues, which had to be done around the wheel arches a few years ago, this car has been a dream to own. I don't feature it that much on the channel. I appreciate, because you like the more exotic stuff, but behind the scenes, this 458, yeah, this is one of the prides of my collection, I think. And ever since The Wolf of Wall Street came out, white Ferraris, they're back in vogue. And look, not a Ferrari. This, of course, is my Porsche 718 Spider, a ferocious driving machine that, with the complicated and faffy roof down, is fantastic. Now, I managed to get a slot for one of these new, so I was quite lucky at the time, and this is one of the first cars into the UK. I did an incredible road trip with this car with Craig's Spider Club and their group in Wales. You'll remember that I've customised this car a little bit, so I put different leather on the seats inside. A little bit of a Marmite moment for a lot of you, but I appreciate it because it makes it look like a 50s RSK. Obviously, it's got roundels on it as well, with the year of my birth, and I just wanted this one to be a little bit more fun, not just the normal standard 718, and I think you'll agree, yeah, you're gonna see me coming. Now, because of the number of cars in the Car Guys garage, I've done 7,007 miles in my 718 Spider. This car is now due a service. I probably need to get that done fairly sharpish, and of course, because it's a modern Porsche, the sort of dynamic dampery things at the back have gone as well, just like they have in the GT3 Touring. This, to me, seems like a bit of a cynical money-making scheme from Porsche, in that they fit these parts which fail far too easily and cost about £1,000 a time each. They've gone twice on my GT3 Touring, and they've gone once on this. To be honest, I've not even bothered fixing them, because what is the point of having something that you would only really get the true benefit of when you're on the track, and yet they fail so often it's going to cost you a fortune. So frankly, Porsche, I've just left them. I don't care if they're broken or not. They don't really affect the driving except when you're at the absolute limit, and I just think it's outrageous that that part fails so easily on so many models, and so many of you have written to me to tell me that. Now, I know what you're thinking. What on earth is this Leviathan doing in the Car Guys garage? And my answer to that, to you, ladies and gentlemen, is why not? You need a luxury vehicle. You need something that's going to waft you to certain destinations in unparalleled luxury, and the Rolls-Royce Phantom Coupe is my luxury car of choice. Not only because of that badge, the Spirit of Ecstasy, but just look at the size of it. This car looks like a Bond villain car. It is incredible. It's beautiful inside, piano wood, black leather, and it is just such an imposing vehicle. And if you ever talk to people who know a lot about Rolls-Royces, they mention Phantom Coupes in hushed tones, because there are not many of these cars. They made a Series 1 and a Series 2, and the total production number of Phantom Coupes is just 823 cars. And that means that this is a very, very rare car indeed. There may be just over 100 of these cars in the UK. This one is just about perfect, and I've managed to do 13,206 miles in this car, which is quite a shock to me because I was convinced that it was still under 10,000. But no, I've had a bit of fun with it in the last year or so. I took it to a Goodwood members meeting where they were celebrating 120 years of Rolls-Royce, which is this year. Next year, 2025, is the 100th anniversary of Phantom, so there's going to be lots of special events for that, and you'll see this car out, no doubt, attending some of those. I was also privileged to get a full factory tour at Rolls-Royce recently, which was incredible to see where this car was made. Of course, now the majority of production is Cullinan and Spectre, but just to see the same factory that this was made in and to talk to Rolls-Royce people about this car was magic. And regular viewers will know that I get this car now serviced exclusively at Silver Lady Services in Bournemouth, who are the greatest. But if I lived in Essex, I would almost certainly get it serviced at P&A Wood, which is my chosen Rolls-Royce dealer. And now I come to the McLaren 675 LT, which, as you can see, is hidden behind the Rolls-Royce. So many of you haven't seen it in certain pictures in the past, got a bit worried, but it's still here. This car needs a service. It's been on a fantastic road trip around Wales, which was unbelievable, with a group of 675 LT owners from the Owners Club. Wow, what an incredible time that was. I have planned to do a whole video on this car, a new one, incorporating the history of the 675 LT, but I just haven't managed to finish it yet. And I've just noticed when trying to open up the doors to check the mileage that in fact it says it's got a driver's door fault. So the driver's door is not opening at the moment and the window on the passenger side has gone down. So generally that's usually something to do with the battery, but that shouldn't be the case because I've got the new powerful battery charger, trickle charger thing here. So yeah, the 675 LT is throwing a little bit of a wobbly at the moment, but that will all be fixed very easily, as it always is.
5 minutes later.
So quick update then, it's done 7,700 miles. There's something that means that the doors are a little bit tricky to open at the moment. So I'm probably gonna have to send it back to the dealer, but it's still a wonderful, wonderful machine. Unless you've driven a McLaren 675 LT, you won't really understand just what a unique driving experience it is and why people love them so much. But for now, it's off to the McLaren dealership. And of course, there's also this. This is my Land Rover Series 2A. It's done 53,000 miles, or perhaps 153,000 miles. As you can see, it's the classic short wheelbase convertible model. I hardly get to drive it. I really should be using it a bit more, and I should probably do an episode on it, but I don't know, life just gets in the way, isn't it? It's a nightmare. This I should probably just get rid of because, let's face it, I don't drive it. So if you want a Series 2A, if you want one of these, perhaps to restore or to do something fun with, then please let me know. And not forgetting this, Porsche 911 GT3 Touring, the 991.2, which is widely regarded as the greatest touring of all time, except perhaps the 2.7 RS Touring. This is a car that I absolutely adore. It's a real workhorse for me. I've done 18,000 miles in it, which I admit is nothing like as many as Chris Harris, but I absolutely adore it. I've changed the seats to houndstooth using the 911R material. I've had Porsche written down the side. It is insanely loud, which is probably why the first owner got rid of it at a premium. I would like to keep this car forever. It is my ultimate 911. There's nothing else I want except for this, and I own it. And it's still here. And I use this, well, I'm using it at the moment every single day. But just like the 718 Spider, the dynamic shock absorber thingies have broken, and I'm not bothering to fix it, and it probably needs a service. But apart from that, it is fantastic. Now, sometimes I do wonder why I still have my BMW E38 750i, and then I sit in it and I drive it and I realise it's just so freaking cool. It's ultimate BMW 7 Series shape. There is no one better designed than this one. If you recall, in my previous garage video at the end of 2022, the roof lining had sagged and needed sorting, so now I've got that done. It was expertly done by Hide and Seam near me, actually. So the interior is now pristine, the exterior is now pristine. It is a perfect example of a 750i of this era. It's done 39,000 miles. It's wonderful. The only thing wrong with this car is that the digital screen, or the screen in the center, doesn't seem to work very much. But since it's stuck where you can just press the button and it goes off, it doesn't matter, because let's face it, who wants to see an old 90s digital screen anyway? It doesn't show you anything important. I absolutely love this car, but I recognize that I don't drive it too much. So I don't know. If someone wants to make me an offer for this car, by all means do so. I probably would let it go because I'm just not driving it that much. But it is a piece of art. And here it is, the trusty companion of the car guys, the GR Yaris, one of the greatest little hot hatches of modern times. Incredible traction. It's so nippy. It's ridiculously fast on B roads. This is a perfect vehicle for touring around the country, visiting you owners who have graciously allowed us to film your cars. It's the fantastic all-rounder. Any conditions, any weather, this thing will cope with it. I've now done 16,132 miles in this car. It's recently been MOT'd, it's recently been taxed. I absolutely love it. I can't see any reason why you would ever not have one of these if you've got a collection of cars. If you want something to nip around, just want something to get you there, this is the one. I absolutely adore it. I appreciate that Jason has got rid of his, one of the first in the country, but I'm not getting rid of mine. Now a little pause to let you know what has actually left the garage since the last update, and there's been a few things. I'm sure many of them you can guess, because they're ones I probably moaned about constantly. First one is my Lotus Elise Final Edition. I didn't really gel with that car. I had lots of great fun with it, but I just don't think ultimately I'm a Lotus person. And I've got many two-seater sports cars, and I just didn't really get in it and drive it. When the battery went dead, it took me ages to get it replaced, and so I sold that car on. So Lotus, out. Also out is my Porsche 993 C4S, the forest green metallic over tan beauty that many of you adored. I had the Tech Art wing removed and then sold that car. I believe it was then sold pretty quickly back on the Collecting Cars website, not by me, and it's now with its new owner. Again, I've had my C4S moment. I've driven that car and now understand what the C4S is all about. 993 is obviously one of my favourite generations of 911, and I absolutely adored that car. But in the end, I just felt it was time to move it on, perhaps experience a different 993 in the future, which I'll be keeping an eye out for. I also got rid of my 3/4 scale Porsche 917. That car, again, beautiful to look at, a cool little thing, but it did take up a whole car parking space in the garage, and I needed that space. So again, that car got sold and shipped off to its new owner, somewhere near Birmingham, I believe. So getting rid of those cars freed up 3 spaces in the garage, and I've already filled 2 of them. And how about this for a bit of a surprise? Yes, I know you weren't expecting it, but many of you that saw my video on the Mazda MX5, the first generation, cannot have failed to realize how much I love this car and how much I've always wanted one. So I sort of kind of had to buy a lovely low mileage example of this epic car to see what all the fuss was about and to enjoy over the summer and many other summers. This car, which was actually featured in that video, has only done 38,412 miles so far. It is a 1990 right-hand drive car, one of the first into the UK. I've just had the paint completely corrected by First Choice Detailing to make it absolutely perfect. It's on the original magnesium wheels. It's in pretty good condition overall, and I have to say, it's an absolute peach. It's a beautiful car, such fun with the roof down and the sun shining. So yeah, I kind of had to have it. And yes, you didn't think this car was going to go anywhere, do you? This, of course, is my 2018 Mercedes S600 Mayback. I bought this car in 2019. It's been the proper family workhorse ever since. Perfect for touring all around the country in absolute luxury. And there's TVs in the back, and it's got a fridge, and it's all lovely and luxurious. This car's now done 85,000 miles. Apart from the fact that it gets punctures very easily, it's been pretty reliable. The most important thing that has happened since the last garage update is that I have found the perfect garage to look after this car and to service it and fettle it and do all the things that it needs. I've been staying away from Mercedes main dealers because obviously they are horrible, but I have finally found Project AMG, and they are the masters of looking after cars like this. Mercedes, classic AMGs, they love them and they do a fantastic job. So finally, I've got some place to take this when it needs stuff done to it and to keep it in perfect order. But obviously, as you'd expect, since it's the Car Guys, the Mayback is going nowhere because it's so flippin' useful. And if you can come up with something that I would replace something this good with, let me know in the comments. Well, thank you very much for watching this episode of the Car Guys and a complete tour of the Car Guys garage for 2024. I hope you found it interesting and exciting and you loved seeing all the cars in all their glory and finding out a little bit more about them and which ones have gone and which ones have arrived. If you like what we're doing on the Car Guys, please subscribe, leave comments and likes. There'll be another episode soon. What are you still doing here? What's going on? I've got nothing more to say. What are you still doing? Waiting around. Shouldn't you be off now? What? Oh, this. Oh, this. Oh, go on then. Yes, you're right. Those of you that have spotted the little snippets, the little Easter eggs that I've laid around some videos or some Instagram will recognize this. Deep breath, folks. As a Ferrari 812 Competizione. Yeah, now this is quite special. I had no idea really that I was going to get one of these. It was a complete shock from Ferrari when they called me. It's been spec'd and I've been waiting for it for 2 years, maybe more. This was the special Ferrari that was coming to the garage, the special car that I alluded to across many different update videos over the last couple of years. And it's finally here. Now I'll of course do a full drive every Ferrari episode on this car, but just to give you a little bit of a flavour, it is of course a 2024 812 Competizione. It is in Rosso Magma, which is that 4-layer paint that was also the launch colour of the Daytona SP3. You will of course note that it has gold wheels. It has a dark blue and white knot stripe that runs all over the car and down the back of the car as well. And it's also got something quite special inside that I'll talk to you about when I do the full episode. This is an exceptional car. It's ridiculously fast. It's ridiculously loud. It's very aggressive. It makes the TDF look like a Mini Cooper. I also know how lucky I am to have got a slot for one of these because lots of people didn't. So, of course, I'm a Ferrari person. I've got lots of Ferraris and I do love them and I'm cut me open and I bleed Ferrari, but to get one of these, and it wasn't always on the cards, but to actually get one and pick it up and put it in the garage, yeah, it's quite special. This car is a tribute to a special Ferrari. Again, I'll reveal all the details of that when I do the full episode, which I'm working on at the moment, but I want to obviously make sure that it's just right. But yes, the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that there is a Competizione in the garage and it's a good one. So I'm a very lucky boy and we'll talk more about this little beauty later on.